Hello and welcome to the Champ of Champs, our end of season Overpower event held at the Columbus, Ohio Convention Center. Brought to you by Heroes and Games. Big shout out to Doug Sims, who runs things over at the Columbus Convention Center. We are going to bring you a nice treat tonight. We were able to record some of the qualifying matches for the event. We are doing this commentary post. It was one of the last events that we're going to see using the old format before the new cards become a permanent staple in Overpower. And so yours truly wanted to actually get a chance to play himself one last time. So, with me is my good friend and co-founder of Lazarus Rising Games, David McMillan. How are you doing, David?
Good. Good evening, everybody, and looking forward to some great Overpower action.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, I know we have a special treat tonight with regards to the rules. Why don't you tell everybody what's different about Champ of Champs than any of the other videos they've seen so far?
So, Champ of Champs, Doug did us a good favor. It was the first tournament where we're testing our new rules on how to determine who goes first. For anybody who knows Overpower, going first used to be a huge advantage, and it was tough tracking that and trying to make that equitable. What we've done for the new game and the legacy environment going forward is however you determine who wins the ability to choose going first, whether that's a coin flip, roll the dice, that person can either choose to go first as normal, or they can go second. And if they go second, they can redraw for one duplicate or unusable up until the discard phase. And so that helps balance out who goes first. It makes it more of a strategic choice, I think. And I think the reviews are so far that people really liked it.
Yeah, I think we got almost universally positive reviews. Now, keep in mind, if you win the roll and you choose to go first, your opponent also, whoever goes second, is going to get that one-time redraw only on the first hand. But I think there was, there's always going to be a few people who preferred it the original way. But I would say everyone I've talked to, people overwhelmingly liked it. And the thing that I thought was interesting about it is, there's still a lot of spirited debate over is it better to go first or second. I'm very much on I will always choose to go first because I know that no matter what, going first is always going to be an advantage. Other people wanted to go second because even though sometimes they don't get an advantage, when they would have a discard, it really can kind of bail you out. So it'll be interesting to see over the long run what people continue to pick. Some of it'll be taste. Some of it's people are just going to math it out from a variance poker statistics standpoint. But I can tell you the amount of times I lost and went second over the 2-day event, I was about 50-50 on actually having a dupe anyway, or less. So I definitely preferred winning the roll and going first. But yeah, it's been great to get to field test one of our rules in a competitive event. And like it or dislike it, it definitely worked well for the event. There were no issues with it. It was very easy to understand. And we didn't have to try to track who was going first each round. So yeah, great job. I think, Dave, that was your rule that you created, correct?
Yeah, I think we as a group had batted around lots of solutions to bidding for it with Venture and a lot of things that I think were more challenging for tracking's sake. I think this is going to be a pretty easy to execute rule and a positive change for the environment.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, let's get over to the table here, and we're about to watch a big match here. So this is, we thought that the stream had some technical difficulties, and we missed this match. So lucky enough, it looks like we caught it. So we're going to do the commentary. On the right side, we have Greg Costa. Greg, who I can't really say is a new player anymore. He's probably been playing about 5 or 6 years and has gotten very, very skilled at the game. He's bringing a deck he likes to call the hand jammers. It's using star jammers in the hand, and it tends to be trying to overwhelm the mechanic of they have an 8 any power offensive special card attack. The left side is Lawrence Ross. Now, Lawrence, I will still say, is a newcomer, but Lawrence has shown a ton of promise in the circuit, getting seconds and firsts in some of the supplementary tournaments and just having great showings pretty much most of the time that he's come. He's definitely showing that with a little more experience, he's going to be a name to watch out for. So, Dave, why don't you tell us what we've got going on here this first hand?
So right now, it looks like Greg was going second. They both drew a duplicate, but Greg was able to redraw according to the new rule. So that's going to give him a little bit of advantage card wise. But of course, Lawrence has initiative with a trusty JW deck. That's the level 3 fighting attack from Heroes for Hire. And it and a follow up. It's a power card. Both can't be defended by a special. So I don't think either player's disappointed with where they're set up. Lawrence having initiative with an aggressive deck probably feels good, but I think Greg's happy to get that redraw of his duplicate. It looks like he duped the Professor X level 8 any power special for Starjammers, which is a little unfortunate for his deck. I think inside knowledge, I think he only runs 2 copies each of that for the hand in Starjammers. So that probably limits his upside in the long run for this match.
Now, unfortunately, with the framing, it's going to be a little hard to see what Greg is betting. Greg's bet some number. It looks like Lawrence bets one. Now, Lawrence unfortunately drew probably his most powerful event here. He's playing Might Over Mind. So, for those of you who don't know, that event set is generally played as an anti teamwork card set. It looks like they both have gone one. Greg reveals a couple of any character attacks. The Reaver 7 energy is in Lawrence's hand. And so Lawrence gets one up to the top, Greg moves one to the bottom. And while Lawrence is probably happy to control serve, losing such a powerful event early and only capitalizing on it one each way is a real bummer. And now Greg gets to go into this next hand with that teamwork place to Silver Sable being active.
Now it looks like Lawrence repopulated his event. Looks like he has no teamworks maybe played. So he has one more coming that only strength teamworks. But he's got a
Ooh.
good pacing of that. Greg with 2 duplicate 3 multis. So that certainly hurts. Now, real quick, I want to double back to who goes first. You can see here that Lawrence was able to get that layup because he had the possibility of JW pressure on Starjammers who did not have any power cards placed to them hand one. So I think that's a win for going first there, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
and he had nothing in hand that could defend it either. So
right.
so Greg does get dinged for a second teamwork card, so he's got 2 cards that are placed that are unplayable. Now he does have some heat in his hand, but unfortunately, Greg has in his hand confusion, and one of the worst draws when you're sitting across from a mission set of Might Over Mind. You know they're not going to be playing any teamworks, so he knows in his hand that confusion is basically a dead card. He's got 2 unplayable teamwork, so he's going to be a little on his heels, but he was good about hiding it. Now, the other advantage, though, is he is drawn into a lot of his 1 per deck heat early. He's got Bakudo off the hand. He's got Madame Gao, Bakudo's other great 1 per deck placed to the home base. I believe I saw his binary 11 in his hand. Um, where it looks like Lawrence is sitting on a 5 energy and a number of activator cards. So we'll see. Greg's got some offense, but one of the things in the old environment, Lawrence has got some really good defense going on. So Lawrence
Looks
goes.
like sorry, yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. He bets 3. And I like his position here. Anytime you're running an anti-teamwork deck as someone who helped popularize that mechanic, the opponent lacking your speed is a huge advantage here. So look to see Lawrence if they fight it out. Start with ally followed by JW or special card offense, and just start to try to pile up the damage and the pressure. While uh, Greg's likely to be pretty slow and be limited to 1 action at a time.
And the other thing that probably is going to weigh into your decision if you're Lawrence, Lawrence has got the Carnage 1 per deck. I'm forgetting the name, but it is an
So
avoid for what's it
it's
called?
symbiotic awareness.
So symbiotic awareness avoids a attack with a combat icon or fighting in the old game here made against Carnage or a teammate, but then it allows Lawrence to draw, reveal, and keep the duplicate if I remember right.
That's
So he's
correct.
so he's almost guaranteed to get to keep the card. And if you look at what Greg's playing, Greg's Dracula's Armory home base is playing all combat basic universe cards. So your ability to throw a big attack over the top, which is probably something you want to be able to do in this deck, is really going to be neutered as long as he has that avoid placed. Greg's not going to be able to take an 8 or a 7, throw a +3 on it, and get it over the Spider Woman's 9 or less avoid. So that's actually a really difficult card for Greg to play around.
Now, Greg just had to play his Freya, his any hero avoid one attack, just to dodge Carnage's 4 multi attack. That was a follow up to the Insane Rage 4 energy make additional. And so you can tell, yeah, he had to run. He just did not have the defense that hand. It looks like he had to pitch an 11. Obviously, the confusion. I didn't see the other two, but
I think it was an 8 any power for the hand. But he's kind of, you can tell by the hand gesture, Greg is saying the same thing you just did. He's saying, "You're going for the hand, I've got no defense." So,
right.
so that puts 4 up at the top for Lawrence and 2 at the bottom for Greg. So Greg is going to be looking to try to get some heat with these teamworks. Lawrence most likely only has one event left. Now, Greg's drawn his Stars and Garters, which is a really strong card to try to defend against the JW. And Lawrence has revealed that he has the JW in his hand. Interesting, Lawrence is actually playing a version with Teamworks. Now, we know that the third event that is still in there, that's anti-teamwork, is only Strength Teamworks may be played. And that is why he's probably willing to play a couple of Strength Teamworks. Because it's 33% of his events, he can still throw them.
Yeah, I think even my new anti teamwork decks with Might Over Mind, I still put in at least 2 teamworks, even if I can't make them strength. It's just my early versions where it was all allies. You do lose something for venture, and it's nice to have 1 or 2 times a game you can summon a traditional teamwork string. The fact that his strength and that he only has that event left, things are lining up really well for Lawrence this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a nice defensive shell going. That Hades activator. For people who don't know, the Hades is the Lazarus Rising Games re-release that has the same functions as the Beyonder. So that, when it's played as an activator, is a 1 per deck that can get any non-1 per deck special from his battle site and play it. So Lawrence is choosing to be conservative here. He could go 2 for the win. Or no, sorry, he
It
wins.
would have been 3 for the win.
All right, so he's choosing just to do the 1 here, but that'll
Yes.
put him in a betting for the win next battle.
Now, I like this move. This is what I've learned to do with JWs. Just go ahead and pile the pressure, even if you're not going to fight to win. You've got to start to like throw them, or you're losing the ability. So he goes with 1 intellect ally, followed by the trusty Black Knight JW from Heroes for Hire.
And we
Looks
know
like,
he has the 8 in his hand.
and he's throwing that 8, and that's gonna make the hand spend their placed 8. So he's doing a good job playing the placed cards math.
And Greg's got his power leech, which he's gonna throw. He's got to do this. He's got to use up the negate in the Hades any way he can. So, there could have been an argument for getting the Stars and Garters out, but again, to go back to what we were saying, Dave, how important having the ability to go first is. Like, Greg's on his toes. If he puts Stars and Garters out and Lawrence goes teamwork, power card, that Stars and Garters is going to get used on one of those, and he's going to take a pummeling from the other two. So getting that offensive pressure and being able to throw that first volley is extremely important in this game. And fighting to get it back and knowing when to fight to get it back is equally as important.
So he's leading off with the ISIS. That's the home base, the aspect. Oh my goodness!
Oh, wow.
Down goes the
Can't
hand.
block a two. Ugh. That is brutal.
Now that is the best part of ISIS is that since it's a multi, it's not a special card, so it can't be negated currently. It just provides ridiculous pressure. And now Lawrence is following up with Maximum Carnage. The 2 multi make 2 additional add a bonus from Carnage, which I just love this Carnage design. I wonder who designed it.
I believe you did, Dave. I believe you were Carnage's designer, but I agree. I love it a lot every time I've used him. And Lawrence is using him perfectly here, which is just, you know, throw everything you can and create that KO pressure. And even at this point, if Greg doesn't really have the ability to fire back in a super effective way. Oh,
Oh my god, I hope he can defend that. Oh, he had the
oh,
ninja. No.
good. Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, it's placed. Yeah, good catch,
Ah,
Lawrence. It's a placed card of the opponent's choice. So he had to drop the teamwork. He concedes and resets.
does he? He played it.
He played out. I'm thinking Lawrence is considering whether to use the Hades to
If
activate his negate.
if I right now am in Lawrence's shoes, I 100% negate that. I think Greg had to just concede because if he can't block a 2, I'm going to assume he can't block a 6.
No, so it looks like Lawrence just takes the victory of killing the hand. Now, interestingly, I don't think Greg got off the Madame Gao off the home
No,
base.
it's still
So
sitting there.
that
It's a little glared out, but he's got his aspect and the Madame Gao on the home base still.
so including the aspect, he has one, two, three, four, five, six place cards to Lawrence's one, two, three, four, five cards, but the one place to Carnage is the avoid and draw keep dupes.
He
So
does
there,
have 6 because there is. Don't forget the Hades. He's covering it up with his
oh
arm.
yeah, you're right, six. So he's basically at an almost seven placement advantage with his opponent's eight ranker KO'd and Beast the Brute already pretty painted. I think he has an intelligence and
And combat.
combat. Yeah, so yeah, Greg's done a great job trying to fight back, but it's really lined up well for Lawrence this game. And
Absolutely. Greg hasn't created a single hit of KO pressure. Now, Greg's got his negate in his hand. And we have seen Lawrence draw 2. He duped on both of his other copies of Spider-Woman's rescue operation. I believe Greg had 2 dupes as well. I didn't see what they were, but one of them is the Ninja 6 for the hand, which is fine. That means the only advantage that Greg has right now is the hand died after he drew all of their stuff early. So
yes,
it's not going to make him dupe super bad, but losing the offensive pressure of the only 8 power card available, the only character that could use his 8 power card, and a character that has one of his 2 offensive 8s, it's going to be interesting to see if Greg can turn this around at all.
it's also challenging that he had not Spider Woman, excuse me. He had Silver Sable in reserve. For anyone who doesn't know, Silver Sable from reserve can teammate avoid one attack of 9 or less. When she comes up, it makes her a natural target because it doesn't also defend herself. So we'll see if Lawrence is disciplined and aims his fire at Silver Sable, avoiding that 9 or less. It's going to be challenging for Greg to really muster, I think, the correct defense against a pretty
Absolutely.
aggressive string team.
Not to mention, we haven't even seen a single one of those yet. So we also haven't seen Greg's. Well, he does choose to go for the Beast, which, you know, maybe he just wants to punch through the one card. You can't say inherently that it's a mistake. Um, but generally, the collective wisdom is just try to take out Silver Sable. But what I was going to say is we haven't seen Greg is playing any heroes, and we haven't seen this Cataclysm yet. So he may be playing the Fairy Protection. Now,
Yeah, and that could push them into it. That's a good point.
I think Greg's getting a little frazzled here. That was the perfect opportunity to you can't miss that opportunity to play your allies. He really should have put that 3
Yeah.
intellect pressure on one of the guys offensively and then played the Stars and Garters.
Now we can see in Greg's hand he does have the draw three. So he might have a chance to, oh man, draw back into this.
Well,
But
now
down goes Beast.
the negate in his hand is dead. And again, I got to give Lawrence credit for just throwing a vanilla 8. You know, he could have tried to throw the teamwork and get fancy. He could have allied into a 6 discard 2, but he just
Ooh.
said, "Oh, that's rough.
Oh,
Oh, oh."
all three of Greg's draw three,
Now,
all of his
interestingly
draws are
enough,
dead.
technically, I think technically, if he asks, Greg has to tell him if it's a duplicate or not. This would be an
Well,
interesting thing in a tournament.
oh, you mean the negates? Yes, that's true.
So
So he had
Beast
two.
is dead. So if Lawrence was to say to Greg, "Is that also a duplicate?" I believe he would have to tell him yes, correct?
Yeah, I think that's covered under the tournament guide ethics. I don't believe that's a technical part of either the old rule book or the new LRG rule book. But
Okay.
yes, but the ethics you are supposed to things that should be known information like that, you would have to answer honestly.
Yep.
And if someone chooses to edgelord and play unethically, if caught, there could be severe consequences. But either way, honestly, if you look at the game flow here, with 2 heroes dead, and you're down to Starjammers and Silver Sable, we've seen the Starjammer 11 pass his draw 3
In the
just
draw
completely
3
whiffed.
path.
There's really not much left in this deck that Greg can do. He already had his fortress. He already had his power leech. He just, I think, got flooded with his offensive cards at one time and just never populated the right defense.
Yeah, I think kind of reading Greg's body language too, that he's sort of feeling he's out of this one. So a 3 multi hit the Star Jammers. The other card's a little glared out, so I think it must be a power card or something else because the teamwork is in the discard pile. But that means
Correct.
he's one icon away from KO on Star Jammers, and that's you lose your whole front line. I mean, that's the ball game, especially when you have 4, soon to be 5 missions in the defeat. Or sorry, that's what's in the top. Greg will end up with 3 missions in the bottom here. I don't think you're coming back to that with a max 6 character that doesn't have any playable specials.
Yeah, there's times in games where Starjammers is so strong and commanding that they can make the comeback if their cards haven't come up already. But his deck has just basically burned itself out. There's really not much in any hero build apart from his Cataclysm that can bring him back in it. And even for a Cataclysm, it's still, he doesn't really have enough.
So Lawrence is just choosing to go right for the avoid. Greg's going to continue his chain here, so that's going to make that a 3 intellect attack. Uh, and then Lawrence
Two
is
for
just
the
going to
kill.
fire right back for that
Oh
2.
my goodness.
I think Greg's just, yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
the handshake. I
The
think.
handshake. The handshake
Well,
work.
look, we all know Greg is a great player and has a really good deck, and yeah, look at a lot all the avoids for Sable were at the bottom. His
And
event
no
was at the
activators.
bottom.
Hmm. Yeah, the draw wasn't set up here for Greg to succeed. Um, I'm not sure if he chose to go first or second. We didn't have audio, or we couldn't tell from the dice roll. But this is definitely a case where if he chose to go second, I think going first is probably the better choice for an aggressive deck.
I will never. There is no situation in the world where I will choose to go second against a heroes for hire. You never. If you're gonna try to punt like defend one of those JW strings, usually one of the hits. You have to be setting the tempo, and you have to create enough offensive pressure on your first volley that if they choose to throw the JW after, they've already had to use some of their cards, and then when you fire back a second time, they're going to have to exhaust the rest of their cards to defend and then retreat
Yes.
on their turn. Like, you need to set that tempo and that cadence. If you choose to go second and they go ally 3 JW, and then even if you follow back, you're just going to be getting hit with another string the way those tend to work out. And
Right.
Lawrence is doing something great here. He's creating his speed with Carnage, which is awesome. It's kind of what the design of Carnage is for. So,
Yeah, I think if you think about this new rule, I think there's defensive shell decks that might avoid and draw, or have multiple avoids where you might want someone to throw into your wave of defense and then counterpunch. But for most decks where you want to get cards into play, it's still preferable, all things equal, to go first. And that jives with our knowledge of the game for the last 2 decades. But it is
absolutely.
nice to get the redraw going second. And I think there are some decks, if you're playing a larger, more duplicate heavy battle site, for instance, deck, you might want to go second. There's cases. But I think
Yeah.
against those alpha 8 rankers, whether it's Heroes for Hire or Dracula, a lot of times it really is, as you said, setting the pace, applying pressure, and trying to get your cards into play faster than they can defend. If you start to get bullied against a JW deck, it's almost over. Greg never really got his footing in this match.
No, 100% agree. So congratulations to Lawrence. He just he executed his deck strategy and did what he needed to do there. So that is it for round 1 of the Friday night qualifier for Champ of Champs. So if we I don't know if we actually said that. This is the qualifying tournament. So there's going to be 5 rounds of Swiss, 3 rounds of elimination, and a certain number of players. I think it was 10 players are going to make it into the second day's event. So we'll see if we see more from these two, but we're going to sign off this first match and click right over to match number 2 to see how the rest of the Swiss goes.